Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to Bang Bang Soul Bowls, where we build and layer flavors to create vegan food with a bang. So today is the second video in our vegan brunch series, and today we are going to make chicken and waffles, and we are going to actually construct our chicken tenders from scratch, and we're going to use a cake mix to make our red velvet waffles. So let's begin. All right, the first thing I have here is a cup of Vital wheat gluten, and then we have our seasonings that we are going to add to our Vital wheat gluten, which we have 2 tablespoons of mushroom seasoning, and you can get mushroom seasoning, it's like vegetarian or vegan seasoning, at your local Asian market. And then we have a teaspoon of garlic powder, some poultry seasoning, some nature seasoning, which is just a seasoned salt. And here I have a crushed vegan bouillon chicken cube, and then we have some cajun seasoning. All right, we're just going to mix all those dry ingredients together. Oh, always making a mess. Always making a mess. All right, to that we're going to slowly add our liquid. And here I have some double strength, I guess, vegan chicken broth. And double strength is just that I use 2 vegan chicken bouillon cubes to 1 cup of water. But we're just going to add half of this and see how much we actually need in order to get our seitan nice and moist. And over here on the side, in our because we're going to cook the seitan first, and then we're going to wrap it in excuse me. We're going to wrap it in some soy skin to give our chicken a skin. Alright, so now that we got this mostly incorporated, I'm going to go in with my hands and kind of knead it all together. Now I just have my cutting board here wrapped in some plastic wrap, and we're going to take it and put it on there and kind of just roll it out, because we are making tenders, so we're going to have different size pieces in order to wrap. And as we roll, this is also kneading the dough, so it's going to create those gluten strands that we want to see in our vegan chicken tenders. We want to make this fairly thin because we want our chicken tenders to be kind of crispy. So this is what we have so far. So I'm just going to break it off until like these size pieces, because as we know, when you cook seitan, it does double, triple in size, so they don't all have to be precise shape. We're just gonna get little pieces off of here. And if you don't want to pull it apart by hand, you can get a knife and cut it up into your desired shapes. But we're just going to let it flow organically and just pull it by hand like this until we get all our pieces done. Alright, so now we're just waiting on our simmering liquid to come up to a boil, and then we're going to place our seitan chicken tenders pieces in the broth, and we're going to let that cook until they float to the top. So be right back. Y'all, now that our simmering broth has come to a boil, in here I have maybe about 8 to 10 cups of water, and then I just put some vegan chicken bouillon cubes in here, and I also just put a couple cloves of garlic and some nature seasoning salt. So you can flavor your liquid however you would like. Just know that, you know, you have to build upon your flavors, especially when you're cooking with seitan. So I'm going to lower this down to a medium, and then we're just going to drop our pieces in here and let those cook. So we'll see how long this takes. Because we pounded them out or rolled them out so thin, it shouldn't take that long. We'll know once they're done when they have doubled in size and they're actually floating at the top, because right now you see that they are completely submerged under the broth. But like I said, we're going to turn this down to medium, and we just want to cook it slow, so they'll be nice and tender and they won't be tough. So that's what we're going to do with that. And while this is cooking, we're going to get together our skin for the outside, and we're also going to set up our breading station so we can bread them and fry them. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is make our thickening agent, our binding agent to make the seitan and the soy skins, the yuba skin, stick together. So what we're going to use today is this vegan gelatin powder, which is called methylcellulose, and this is the high viscosity one. So make sure you get the high viscosity one. Why? Because Sauce Stash told me to. If you're not following his channel, he does amazing things, and he does a little chemistry experiment in almost every one of his videos, and I love his videos. So I am going to try to mimic that today by doing this. So in this bowl, I have 2 tablespoons of the methylcellulose, and I'm going to add a half a cup of hot water. So on the back of the package, it shows you the different temperatures in which it reacts to things. So in order for it to gel, it has to be between 132 and 148 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're just going to mix this up, and I'll show you how we're going to use this once this is all incorporated. So it's actually a gelling agent. This is actually used in things like ice cream or cheese, just different, what is that word I'm looking for? I don't know. And here is the product that I'm talking about. It is actually bean curd sheets or bean curd skin. The dry one is usually a little bit harder to work with. I like to get the frozen ones because those come in complete sheets, and when you rehydrate them, they don't break apart like the dried ones. So I prefer the frozen ones, but my Asian market was out of them, so I had to get the dry ones. But I have been letting those hydrate overnight, and what I do is I just spread them out in a shallow, like a baking sheet or a baking dish or baking pan, and I just rehydrate them with the vegan chicken bouillon, so, or vegan chicken broth. So I just make my broth out of the vegan chicken bouillon, and what we do, we just want to spread those out. As I try to get as many complete sheets out of there as I could, and you just put those in the broth and let them hydrate. So I just had them in a bag, and a Ziploc bag, and let them incorporate all the water back into it. So now what we're going to do, we're just going to lay out some pieces here, because like I said, this is going to be the skin for our sheet. And how we're going to keep this together, we're going to use the methylcellulose to keep our tenders together. So this is going to be the skin for our chicken. And it doesn't have to be laid out perfectly smooth, because as many crevices that you can have, that's the crevices to where we can put the flour can go into it. So once we fry it, it'll just be like crispy pieces of, you know, skin in the different little crevices. So we're just going to construct these. This is going to be the bottom layer, and then we're going to put the seitan in the middle, and then we're going to put a top layer. Of course, we're going to let this kind of gel together by putting it in the freezer for a little bit, just so that it can set up and stay together. So now I'm just taking my little brush here, and we're just going to brush some of this over top of it. It's not going to really gel until it cools down, so we have to be patient while working with this. And I'm working on top of plastic wrap. That way I'll know it'll release, and we don't have to worry about it sticking to the cutting board or anything. But as you can see now, it's starting to thicken up a little bit and gel. So all right, now our seitan is floating to the top. I'm going to go ahead on and cut that off, and then we're going to remove that and let that cool while we let these pieces just set up over here. So, I'll continue with this process and then I will come back once I take the seitan out. Okay, we're going to remove our seitan from the braising liquid, and this is what you have here. It's kind of like little tender chunks of our chicken, and you can see that it has doubled in size, but we're going to cook this again. So if you're afraid that you haven't cooked your seitan enough, we're going to fry it as well. So, but like I said, I wait until mine floats to the top, and then I remove it at that time. And as you can see, it has all like the seasonings that we put in there has been incorporated into the seitan. Hopefully it tastes really good. But we're also going to dredge it in seasoned flour. So if push comes to shove and this doesn't taste like anything, we can make it taste like something with the flour coating on the outside. So that's how we do the little workarounds around. Alright, let me just taste a piece, see how seasoning came out. Very good. Very tasty. Tastes like chicken. So we're going to let this cool off just for a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead on and continue to assemble our chicken tenders. Alright, we're going to go ahead and just start assembling this because the methylcellulose is starting to cool down and starting to gel up a little bit. So we're just going to find the best pieces to match the skins that we have down. You put more than one little piece in there like that. A little more skin on top. Let's not forget our glue. See how it's gelled up? But we are going to make it work. I think once we let it set up in the freezer, it'll be ready to roll after that. You know, cooking vegan food and trying to make it taste tasty, it's all about experimenting, I tell you, because especially when you want and you have an idea of how you want things to taste and how you want it to go, you just have to, you know, figure out what works for you and how you gonna work it out. So everything is by trial and error. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish assembling these up, and I have a sheet up here. I think I'm just gonna transfer the whole plastic wrap on it, and then just have it set up like that. All right, I will show you the finishing product before it goes into the freezer because I am making a mess right now. See you guys back in a little bit. Alright, you guys, so after we have wrapped our chicken seitan pieces with our bean curd sheets, it was a doozy. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that. Make sure the other times that I made these, I made them with the whole frozen sheets, so it was easier just to put it in between and cut it out and sandwich it together. But using the pieces is going to be a headache, so I would recommend that you use the sheets that come together. They're frozen, and you will reconstitute them the same way you would do the dried ones. Unless your dried sheets stay together, then go ahead and use those. But the ones that aren't staying together, I wouldn't even bother. So now what we're going to do, and if your methylcellulose gets a little, if it thickens up too quickly, just add a little bit of hot water to thin it out again, and then you should be fine. So what we're going to do now is let these set up in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then after that we're going to set up the breading station, and we're going to go ahead on and make the batter for our red velvet waffles and the icing that we're going to put over it. Okay, for our cream cheese icing to go on our red velvet waffles, it's just going to be 4 simple ingredients, and it's going to be equal parts vegan cream cheese, plant-based milk, and powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. So I am using a third cup of each, third cup of almond milk, third cup of the cream cheese, and a third cup of powdered sugar. Let me kind of get this incorporated first before I add the sugar in. Let that dissolve a little bit. But if you need to make more, a cup of plant-based milk, a cup of plant-based cream cheese, and a cup of powdered sugar. So just equal parts of all, and then just you would adjust the vanilla as well. And you can use a electric mixer if you want, but I'm just using this because this is what I have right here. Oh, that's a third cup. Give or take a little splishy splashy of a teaspoon or so. Trying to get that incorporated. So we just want to make a cream cheese drizzle. And then a nice way to put like a decoration on top of your waffles or anything that you're using to drizzle. Just get like one of those little squeeze bottles. You can purchase those anywhere. They have them at Sam's, Dollar Tree. You just want a squeeze bottle to make your drizzles with, or you can use a spoon. But we just want to get that nicely incorporated, get all the lumps out. But if you don't want to do that, then if you don't want to use the whisk, you can just go ahead on, like I said, with the mixer and do it that way. But that looks good. to me. I mean, there are a couple of little lumps in there, but this is what you want to have, like a runny type of icing, a drizzle. You don't want it to be too thick, and you definitely don't want it to be too thin. So this looks like a good consistency for me. Now we're gonna go ahead and go. Now we're gonna go ahead and mix up our waffle mixture while we are waiting on our chicken. All right, so for our red velvet waffles, we have just a box of red velvet cake mix, and this is the Duncan Hines Super Moist. We have 550 liters of plant-based milk, which I'm using unsweet almond milk, and then we're going to use the equivalent of 4 eggs, but it's going to be the egg replacer, and I'm using Bob's Red Mill for that. I'm just going to get that incorporated, start that going. And you can also mix this. You can also mix this with a hand mixer, but I'm just going in with my whisk, trying to get my workout on, you know. And then this is about a half a cup of vegetable oil, and we're gonna make sure that all gets incorporated. And we're going to make the small mini waffles. So this will probably make about, I'm gonna say 15 to 20 of those. I mean, if you're doing a brunch, you're gonna need every last one of those waffles. So if you're gonna make that, I would probably double that recipe for the chicken, because that will probably make about 15 small tenders. So I would double that recipe just in case you want to put like 2 on top of the mini waffle. So, but if you wanted to just make this as a meal, this probably will make about 8 to 10 large waffles. So just gonna get that all incorporated, and it should look like this once you're done. And we're going to go ahead on and set up our dredging station for our chicken tenders, and I'll show you how that goes, and I'll be right back. All right guys, for our dredging station, we're going to have 1 cup of plain flour, and then we have 2 cups of our seasoned flour, which we have garlic powder, paprika, Cajun seasoning, and some poultry seasoning in there. And then in this bowl, we're going to make our vegan egg coating, which we're going to use the vegan egg, the Follow Your Heart vegan egg. So with this one, you will do two tablespoons of Follow Your Heart for every half a cup of ice cold water. I'm going to do 4, and we're going to put a cup of ice cold water in there, and we're going to whisk that vigorously per the instructions. And that's what we have. Sometimes I thin mine out with a little bit more water. just until I get it the consistency that I want it to be, because it doesn't have to be too thick, because you're just using it as a binding agent for the plain flour and the seasoned flour. We want to have a nice crispy coating on our vegan chicken tenders. Okay, I think that's about good right there. So that was actually about 2 cups of ice cold water for 4 level scoops of Follow Your Heart. But you can use whatever egg replacement you want to, or you can use the just egg. You can use that as well. So we're going to go ahead on and just mix in our seasonings here. And then while I was waiting on our chicken tenders to set up in the freezer, I went ahead and started my deep fryer. I have it on 340. And while we are waiting on our deep fryer to heat up, we're just gonna continue. We're gonna keep those chicken tenders in the freezer, let them set up some more, and when I come back, we'll go ahead on and start dredging them. Guys, I'm not sure if if I had filmed when I was breading the chicken, the vegan chicken tenders the first time, but the first batch is getting ready to come out, and I'll show you guys how I bread it again. But this is what we have here. Our vegan chicken tenders. Don't those look delicious? Oh, you know what I forgot to tell y'all? That the seasoned flour is actually a cup of flour and a cup of cornstarch. So you're gonna use a cup of flour and then a cup of cornstarch. But to batter these up, you're gonna dip them. Once you get them out the freezer, you're gonna put them in the plain flour, then you're gonna put it into the egg, your vegan egg wash, and then you're just gonna go ahead on and load it into your fryer. And you'll just do that until all of your pieces are cooked up. All right, you guys, we're back. I know the angle is a little bit off. I don't know what I did, but my technical support isn't here. But we're gonna go ahead on, now that we have fried our chicken, we're gonna go ahead on and make our little mini red velvet waffles. I don't have any spray, so I'm just gonna brush some oil onto the waffle maker, and then we're just gonna add a scoop to each of our mini waffles here. And then once those are done, I'm going to show you guys the finished product. We're going to plate it up and we're going to taste it and see how delicious it is. Just make sure when you are cooking your vegan chicken tenders that you cook them thoroughly, because of the soy skin inside. You want that to be cooked as well, so it can add an extra crisp to it. So I'll say 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon how thick you have the skin on the outside, how thick your coating is, then that's how long you want to cook it. So I would cook one, give it a test, see if it's if the skin is cooked on the inside. If not, just drop it back in the fryer. But with the mixture of the cornstarch and the flour, you don't have to worry about your batter getting too dark, because that'll keep your batter light and crispy. All right, you guys, our waffles are done. So that box made about 25 mini waffles. So, and here is our chicken, our vegan chicken tenders. I had them in the oven on warm while we were waiting. So let's go ahead on and plate up a little portion. So when you do your brunch, you can have them as cute or as aesthetic as you would like. I also have some walnuts here, but you can toast up the walnuts. But this is our vegan cream cheese drizzle that we made earlier. Gonna go in with some of our chopped walnuts. You can toast these up, or you can drop them in the deep fryer when you're done with your chicken. It is all up to you. Let's find some pieces to put on top. So like I said, you guys, this is a brunch series, and I am bringing you some brunch ideas for vegan brunches. I mean, if y'all want y'all vegan brunches to be lit, make sure you make some of these recipes. So now I'm just going to top it off with some light blue agave. If you wanted, you can make this into like a hot honey sauce, but of course a vegan version. But there you have it. Let me go ahead on and give it a taste. Y'all hear that crisp, that crunch? And this is what our chicken tender looks like inside. I'm telling you, you will not miss regular chicken at all. So, thank you for joining again. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.